Hi, my name is Nicola. This is for Module 6, Unit 1, Activity 1, Unpacking a Standard. I will be pursuing certification in teaching social studies and economics, so the standards I will be looking at are related to this field. Specifically, I'm looking at two standards for teaching economics. Despite me holding a master's degree in economics, teaching this subject would be new to me. I currently teach ESL in China. For my clinical, I will be looking for placements at international schools in Beijing, and many of them tout their IB programs. For this reason, the standards I looked for are IB-DP economic standards, but found no such list freely available. What I found is a list of assessment objectives, of which there are four, that feel broader than standards as I understand the term. In a sense, these assessment objectives focus on the verbs rather than the nouns. Therefore, I'm relying on IB's economics guide and other derivative resources, which outlines syllabus content and presents the subtopics for each of the units. These subtopics were the closest things to standards that I was able to find. Now, back to unpacking the standards. The first concept that I felt would be interesting for this purpose was market equilibrium. This is a concept from Microeconomics, Unit 2. Market equilibrium is at the core of understanding economics. It shows an underlying concept that is used throughout the course. This, however, is not the standard I will be unpacking. Since market equilibrium is discussed early on in the course, I chose something I felt was closer to topics I will be teaching during the clinical. I am anticipating that the clinical will take place starting towards the end of the current semester, after the students have already finished the unit on microeconomics. So I chose to delve deeper into another concept, the meaning of unemployment, which is from the macroeconomics, Unit 3 part of the course. In Unit 3, macroeconomics, subtopic the meaning of unemployment is discussed as part of the topic 3.3 macroeconomic objectives. So I will be unpacking standard the meaning of unemployment, which has the following 4 points related to this concept. Number 1, define the term unemployment. Number 2, explain how the unemployment rate is calculated. Number 3, explain the difficulties in measuring unemployment, including the existence of hidden unemployment, the existence of underemployment, and the fact that it is an average and therefore ignores regional, ethnic, age, and gender disparities. And number 4, calculate the unemployment rate from a set of data. Now, the rationale behind teaching economics is to help educate future citizens that understand and are able to navigate everyday challenges and decisions. This is very similar to how IB schools see their role as educators. At IB schools, economics is taught as a 2-year course in high school, ages 16 through 19. Students can do a standard level or a high level. There's a difference in the number of hours that they do. I chose to unpack a standard related to one of the most talked about economic issues, unemployment. Unemployment, as seen by economists, is an aggregate value. Even at the microeconomic level, although very real to the people experiencing it, one unemployed person provides little insight to economists. They want to know larger trends as shown by aggregated data. This is the macroeconomic worldview, how large numbers of people experience economic fluctuations and what it all means for the policymakers. Unemployment numbers published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the morning of first Friday of every month are an important indicator that affects economic and political decisions. So now let's get down to the nouns. Students will have to know unemployment, unemployment rate, and labor force. What must the students do? What are the verbs? Students must be able to define unemployment, define labor force. They must be able to explain that unemployment rate is the relationship between unemployment and labor force and how it's calculated. Students must explain what is and isn't encompassed in the unemployment rate. And students must be able to calculate the unemployment rate from the data. What are the inferences? So what should these students understand? Students need to understand societies are never at full employment. Students need to understand that unemployment rate is a statistical category. One needs to be registered with a government agency as available to work in order to be counted as unemployed. When unemployment exists, an economy's production is less than potential GDP and some labor resources are not used. Why does this all matter? So, what are the real life inferences? Real world situations are abundant, from having personal encounters with unemployed people to hearing on the news about the unemployment numbers. Understanding what the term unemployment means in the context of economics and statistics is crucial to understanding the signals from the market, as well as to discern any manipulation by those discussing the unemployment rate. Some of the vocabulary we'll be doing is labor force, jobs, employers, government, aggregate supply of labor, aggregate demand for labor, unemployment rate, full employment, underemployment, hidden unemployment, natural unemployment, cost of unemployment. What are we not doing? Right now, we are not discussing the trade off between unemployment and inflation. That's for later. What kind of evidence will the students show? Students will be able to graph aggregate supply and demand of labor. Given the data, students will be able to calculate the unemployment rate, and students will be able to discuss economical and personal consequences of unemployment. Some projects for students include writing individual essays elaborating on and analyzing the latest unemployment numbers. Students can present on the topic of understanding the limits to unemployment rate. For instance, they can talk about different groups that are not captured by that rate. Or students can research what governments have done in the past to battle high unemployment. What were the intended benefits and were there unintended consequences of these policies? And students can do a review of current debate on unemployment in their country.